Meet new people and express your true self. Play I Am VU, and you can customize your avatar and world to your tastes. In this virtual universe, you can choose from over 54 million items and join in on over 300,000 chat rooms. Create your unique style and show it off to millions of IMVU users around the world. Come find your community on IMVU, whether that be friends or more. Dress, play, connect. Download IMVU from the App Store or Google Play today.
If you're a lineman in charge of keeping the lights on, Grainger understands that you go to great lengths and sometimes heights to ensure the power is always flowing, which is why you can count on Grainger for professional-grade products and next-day delivery, so you have everything you need to get the job done. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Darkcast Network. Welcome to the dark side of podcasting.
Never get into a car with a stranger. That's something everyone's parent has told them at one point or another. But when 11-year-old Trudy Appleby got into a car on the morning of August 21st, 1996, she wasn't with a stranger. Trudy's family believes that she was with someone she knew, someone with whom she felt safe. But Trudy wasn't safe, and she was never seen again after that day. Over the years, suspects have been named and suspects have died. Now, in 2025, 29 years after Trudy was last seen, a grand jury has indicted Jamison Fisher in the murder of Trudy Appleby. Could the answers that Trudy's loved ones have been fighting for finally be here? When a person goes missing, there's a special kind of pain in the not knowing. I want to tell you the stories of those who never came home. Today, I want to update you on the story of Trudy Appleby. I'm Kona Gallagher.
And I'm Ethan Flick.
And this is And Then They Were Gone. Welcome back, everyone.
Welcome back.
Thank you for joining us once again. I'm Kona.
And I'm Ethan.
And we're the husband and wife team behind this podcast. Each week, I tell you the story of an unsolved missing persons case. Ethan doesn't know anything about the case going into the episode and is here to provide his reactions and questions in real time, hopefully asking some of the same ones you have at home. We originally covered Trudy's case back in September 2021. And that was a time when Moline police were really ramping up their efforts to garner new leads. They had publicly named 3 suspects, and it really seemed as though they were on the verge of breaking the case. But then, nothing happened. At least, that's what it seemed like. But as we now know, police were working hard behind the scenes the entire time. And now, 29 years after she was last seen, we have our first arrest in the Trudy Appleby case. This week, we're going to be updating you on everything that's happened recently. I'll do a quick case recap, but I've also re-released our original episode, so if you want to catch up on all of the details, it's the episode below this one in your podcast app. But before we dive into Trudy's updates, I want to thank our newest Patreon supporters, Matilde and Melissa T. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Remember, if you want to join them, you can do so by heading over to our Patreon and joining at any level, starting at just $2 a month for ad-free episodes and a free copy of the ebook that I wrote. Now, with all that out of the way, let's get into the updated story of Trudy Appleby.
Yeah, let's get into it. I'm eager.
In 1996, Trudy Appleby was 11 years old and lived in Moline, Illinois with her father, Dennis. On the evening of August 20th, she was hanging out at her best friend Amber's house. The pair ate dinner and rollerbladed outside. Trudy had been invited by a family friend to go swimming at nearby Campbell Island the next day, but her father said no because they were getting ready to take a trip and Trudy still needed to pack. On the morning of August 21st, Dennis got up to get ready for work. He checked in on Trudy and saw that she was still sleeping. He returned that afternoon and brought lunch for the two of them, but Trudy wasn't there. Dennis wasn't particularly worried about this. After all, it was the end of summer, so he figured that Trudy was over at a friend's house enjoying the last couple days before school started. So he left her a note and returned to work. But when Dennis arrived home that evening, everything remained on the table exactly as he had left it. And that's when he began to worry. When Trudy still hadn't come home by 7 p.m., Dennis called neighbors and friends, but no one had seen his daughter. At around 7:30, he called Moline Police and said, "We got a problem." Now, despite the fact that she was only 11, police initially thought that Trudy could have been a runaway. But Dennis never believed that. Neither did anybody who actually knew Trudy. He did think it was possible that she was with her mom, but once he determined that she wasn't, he just knew that something was wrong. He told the dispatch just days after she disappeared, quote, "Something is just wrong. Somebody's tricked her, fed her a story. She had to be thinking she was coming right back. Nothing is gone, not her purse, her makeup. She knew we were going on vacation," end quote. As word spread about Trudy's disappearance, witnesses began to come forward. One neighbor said that about 30 minutes after Dennis left for work, they saw Trudy inside of a car in her driveway with an adult male behind the wheel. Witnesses described the car as a silver or gray, boxy four-door sedan similar to a Chevy Celebrity. By all appearances, Trudy went with the man willingly. The man himself was described as being in his 20s with curly brown hair and wearing a baseball cap, but none of the neighbors knew who he was. The search for Trudy was intense, but no sign of the little girl was found. Her case was featured on America's Most Wanted, and both Dennis and Trudy's mom, Brenda, were given polygraphs, along with a few other family members. Everyone passed. While police said that they weren't ruling anyone out, there didn't really seem to be anyone that they were ruling in either. Companies donated billboards all over the Quad Cities area, and flyers continued to be posted everywhere. Dennis went on talk shows, and Unsolved Mysteries expressed interest. They also established a reward fund, but no one came forward with any useful information. But by the 3rd anniversary of Trudy's abduction, her father believed that he knew who was responsible. He was seething as he addressed the crowd at his daughter's annual vigil, saying, quote, "I know who you are. Now I am coming to you," end quote. Apparently, the police did suspect the same people that Dennis did, but just didn't have hard evidence and really couldn't do anything about it. And that's how things stayed for years. There were names on investigators' radar, but they didn't release them publicly until 2017. That year, a few days before the 21st anniversary of Trudy's disappearance, police finally released a name: William Ed Smith. According to a press release from the Moline Police, a witness stated that he saw Smith in a gray car near his home on Campbell Island on the morning of August 21st, 1996. He had a young girl in his passenger seat. Interestingly, the vehicle was allegedly scrapped a short time after Trudy's disappearance. Smith was a family friend of the Applebys, and the witness told police that Ed Smith would become despondent whenever Trudy's name was mentioned and threatened to kill him if he ever went to the police to tell him what he knew. Smith was one of the people initially interviewed in 1996, but he denied seeing Trudy that day. By the time all of this came to light in 2017, Smith had already been dead for 3 years. However, all was not lost. Police also indicated that they didn't believe Smith had worked alone, though they didn't initially want to name names. Dennis, on the other hand, had no such reservations. He told a reporter that another person he believed to be involved was David Whipple, Ed Smith's son-in-law. Dennis said, quote, "He knows what happened to my daughter. I believe that in my heart, 100%, end quote. In 2017, once these names were out, police made a public push for answers. First, the Moline Police Department erected 2 billboards with Trudy's photo that read, "You know something. It's time to say something." The placement of these billboards wasn't random either. They were on the daily driving routes of their suspects. Then, in August of 2020, right around the 24th anniversary of Trudy's disappearance, Moline Police officially named David Whipple as a person of interest. Also named was another man, Jamison "Jamie" Fisher, who was a friend of Whipple and Ed Smith. Detective Griffin told reporters that both men knew exactly what happened to Trudy on August 21st, 1996.
So they named 3 suspects at this point.
Yeah.
One of which is already dead.
Mm-hmm.
And they publicly came out and said that the 2 remaining suspects definitely know what happened to her, but they didn't have enough at that point to arrest them.
Yeah, from what it sounds like, they just didn't have any physical evidence. So the car that they suspected was the one used to pick Trudy up that morning, like I said, had been scrapped shortly thereafter. So they were never able to take a look at it. And so at that point, I think the thought was, let's make this public. Let's make these names public so that maybe people with information can come forward. And then that led to other searches of their properties. So this was all going on right around the time that we put out our initial episode on Trudy's case. And around that time, they searched a boat belonging to one of the suspects, thinking that that might have been the boat that maybe they took Trudy out on that day, and perhaps something happened on it. So they were hoping that they could find the physical evidence that they needed on the boat. And we talk about that more in the episode. But if anything was found, they haven't released that publicly. So that's kind of when everything went quiet again in the case.
Yeah.
And, I would keep on kind of keeping an eye on this case, just hoping that something happened, because it did seem like we were on the verge of getting answers. They named the people publicly, and it really seemed as though Moline police were very anxious to get this case resolved. But it just didn't happen. But that doesn't mean that they weren't putting in work. In 2023, police dug up and searched the backyard of a property that belonged to Fisher, Jamison Fisher, apparently believing that Trudy may have been buried there. Those close to the case had their hopes raised, but ultimately nothing was found. After that, it was silence once again. That is, until August 13th, 2025, 1 week before the 29th anniversary of Trudy Appleby's disappearance. Are you planning a trip abroad this year? Imagine how much better your travel experience could be if you could speak the language. With Rosetta Stone, you'll gain the confidence to have real conversations and create deeper connections wherever you go. Rosetta Stone is the trusted leader in language learning for over 30 years. Their immersive, intuitive method helps you naturally absorb and retain your new language on desktop or mobile whenever and wherever it fits your schedule. One of my favorite places to visit is Spain, and as it turns out, my 3 years of high school Spanish does not quite cut it over there. And that's what's great about Rosetta Stone. You can learn faster and retain longer. They immerse you in your new language naturally, which helps you think and communicate with confidence. There are no English translations, so you truly learn to speak, listen, and think in your chosen language. So don't wait. Unlock your language learning potential now. And Then They Were Gone listeners can grab Rosetta Stone's lifetime membership for 50% off. That's unlimited access to 25 language courses for life. Visit rosettastone.com/today to get started and claim your 50% off today. Don't miss out. Go to rosettastone.com/today and start learning today. Let me tell you about the online cannabis company that's revolutionizing how we deal with life's challenges, from sleepless nights to stress-filled days. Mood.com has created an entire line of functional gummies that target specific health concerns with 100% federally legal THC blends, and they'll deliver them discreetly right to your doorstep. Even better, you can get 20% off your first order at mood.com with promo code ATTWG. We've been advertising Mood for a while. They've been really good to us, and after trying some of their gummies, it is wild how different each one feels. Those Sleepy Time gummies will knock you out in about 15 minutes flat. No hangovers, no grogginess. What makes these different is how they've paired THC and other cannabinoids with herbs and adaptogens. You're not going to find gummies like this in a dispensary or anywhere for that matter. They've got immune support, menopause relief, PMS, mental clarity, sexual arousal, and all of them use federally legal cannabis, and it's all grown on small family-owned American farms, and they can ship to most states in the U.S. And best of all, not only does Mood stand behind everything with an industry-leading 100-day satisfaction guarantee, but as I mentioned, listeners get 20% off their first order with code ATTWG. So head to mood.com and remember, use promo code ATTWG at checkout to save 20% on your first order. Did you know that your calendar age doesn't always match how old your body truly is? I recently took the True Age test from True Diagnostic and discovered my biological age, and the results completely changed the way I think about my health. Research shows that if your biological age is even just 5 years older than your actual age, your risk of developing diseases like cancer or heart disease can jump by as much as 30 to 50%. It's a big deal and it's completely avoidable. The good news is nearly 90% of biological aging is in your hands. Yes, it's driven by things like lifestyle, your habits, and the environment you're in, which means that you have a lot of control over it. The True Age test didn't give me just a number, which actually did line up pretty closely with my calendar age. It also showed me how quickly my heart, brain, liver, and immune system are aging, and it showed me where I need to improve. The test itself is super easy. It's just a little finger prick that you can do from home. It is fast and hassle-free. So if you care about protecting your health and want to find out what your real age is, head over to truediagnostic.com and use my code ATTWG to get 20% off your entire order or subscription. That's truediagnostic.com and use ATTWG at checkout to get 20% off. Your future self will thank you. Growing up, my parents never talked about money. I had to figure all the financial stuff out on my own, which certainly led to a few mistakes along the way. That's why I decided to give my kids a head start on their money skills with Acorns Early. Acorns Early is a smart debit card and money app that grows kids' money skills as they grow up. You can start with the in-app chore tracker and teach your kids the value of $1. Then they can spend what they've earned with their very own customizable debit card, giving them that extra sense of independence. We're using Acorns Early now with our youngest, and it's so much better than giving him a regular allowance. I never have cash lying around, and this is automated, which makes it so much easier. Plus, he can see directly in the app what chores still need to be done. Ready to teach your kids the smart way to earn, save, and spend? Get your first month on us when you head to acornsearly.com/ATTWG or download the Acorns Early app. That's 1 month free when you sign up at acornsearly.com/ATTWG. Acorns Early Card is issued by Community Federal Savings Bank, member FDIC, pursuant to license by MasterCard International. Free trial for new subscribers only. Subscription fee starting from $5 per month unless canceled. Terms apply at acorns.com/early terms. On that day, Moline Police Chief Darren Galt held a press conference. I'm just going to play the clip of how he opened it because I'll probably just start crying if I try to read it.
28 years, 11 months, and 23 days. That is how long the family of Trudy Appleby has waited for a resolution to her disappearance. That's 10,584 days. That is the time it has taken to stand before you and say what we long had hoped we could say. We have made an arrest in the murder of Trudy Appleby.
The part that you can't see is that Chief Galt and the other officers at the press conference were all wearing blue and white Nikes in honor of Trudy. That was the shoes she was wearing the morning she disappeared.
See, some cops do have hearts.
Yeah, so anyway, God, that was tough to get through. On August 13th, Jamison Fisher was indicted by a grand jury in Henry County, Illinois, for the murder of Trudy Appleby. The other suspect, who was named in 2020, David Whipple, who was Ed Smith's son-in-law, died in 2022.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so now Jamison Fisher is the only living suspect.
So he's the only one that knows at this point.
I mean, at least the only one with firsthand knowledge who knows, what other people have been told over the years. Fisher was indicted on 3 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of concealment of a homicidal death. Unfortunately, he can't be charged with Trudy's abduction because the statute of limitations has expired.
Well, there's probably not any direct evidence that he was the one that abducted her either.
Yeah, I have been wondering about that because later that witness did come forward that said that he saw Ed Smith in that boxy gray car with a girl in the passenger seat.
Right.
But her neighbors described somebody who was in his 20s, and Ed Smith was not in his 20s.
Oh.
So it's hard because Jamison Fisher's bald now. I don't know what he looked like in 1996.
Right.
So I'm wondering if he was the guy with the curly hair who actually picked Trudy up that day, or if that could have even been Whipple.
Yeah.
Because Whipple, from, later pictures I saw of him, he did have like curly hair. So, I mean, I think it could have been either one of them. It's hard to say with what we know now who did what in this.
Right. But ultimately, they have somebody
Yeah.
for this. So even if they can't charge him with the abduction, they have him on bigger charges.
Exactly. So, yeah, I mean, obviously, in a case like this, you want the person responsible charged with as many things as possible.
Yeah.
But, yeah, if you miss one and you still have murder on the table, like, it's okay.
Yeah.
Now, here's what's interesting. Police have said that they believe that Fisher strangled Trudy and then dumped her body. Now, they aren't yet saying what evidence led to this conclusion because we know that they haven't found Trudy.
Right. So where would they have gotten that from?
Well, to me, it seems like somebody had to have talked.
Yeah. I mean, now I'm wondering, does that mean there's other suspects? That there were other people involved?
Maybe. Or was it Fisher himself? Because I have heard rumors of that he actually confessed. But again, those are only rumors.
Like he confessed to the police? Or he confessed to somebody else?
No, I think to the police. But again, rumor. And based on new information that I just found out right before this taping, I'm not really sure if that's what happened. But it is an intriguing idea. So right now, Jamison Fisher is already in jail, but he's in jail in Iowa on unrelated drug and probation violation charges.
Okay.
Okay, so he's in custody.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, I think that if he did say something, it could have been either to police there, it could have been to a cellmate, it could have been to a law enforcement officer posing as a cellmate, which just happened in the Emmanuel Haro case, which is that 7-month-old baby who's been missing in California.
Mm-hmm.
It could have been any number of things, but he is currently incarcerated awaiting these charges. So some are wondering if maybe he had an attack of conscience, because just last month, in July 2025, his 19-year-old son, Edward Fisher, died in a drowning accident on the Mississippi River.
Oh, no.
So maybe the loss of his own child gave him an insight into the pain that Dennis has been living with for nearly 3 decades.
I mean, I doubt it.
Right. But maybe.
Maybe.
I just think the timing's really interesting. That after all these years, we finally have an indictment, and it comes just weeks after Fisher's own son died.
Right. Well, how long has he been in jail for the probation violations?
Not long. He actually was just arraigned on August 28th for that.
So I'm wondering, you know what? You actually might be right. It may have been a confession, and maybe they got him on the probation violation basically to hold him and before they could indict him on the murder.
Okay, so you're saying maybe he confessed prior to his arrest?
Maybe. Like, not to law enforcement. Maybe somebody came forward. Like, maybe he had a guilty conscience
and told someone else.
Confessed to somebody else who then went to the police. The police were like, we need to get this guy quick. Find out he's on probation. They find out, they get in touch with his probation officer. Probation officer finds, I don't want to say find something, but, there's violations. They arrest him for that to kind of hold him. Maybe not.
So you're
I don't
thinking that police in Moline may have coordinated with police in Iowa.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, maybe.
I could be totally wrong.
No, I know. And that's the thing. I mean, it's obviously all speculation at the moment. Amber Dunlap, Trudy's best friend and the one who she was hanging out with the night before she disappeared, recently gave an interview to the Daily Mail where she said, quote, "It's terrible to lose a child, and Fisher knows that pain now. The only difference is he knows what happened to his son while we're still waiting. If he has any feelings at all, he will put us out of our misery." End quote. Amber went on to say that she hopes Trudy's father will get answers about his daughter before he passes. He's 77 years old now, and I'm not sure how he's doing health-wise. Because over the years, he's talked to the press, and he's always been very visible in terms of his daughter's case. But I haven't found any record of him speaking publicly since Fisher's arrest. Trudy's uncle, Ray Edelman, has spoken to the press, though, about how difficult it is being one of Trudy's last surviving family members. Her grandparents have passed away, as has his sister, Trudy's mother, who died in 2014. But yeah, getting back to the idea of Fisher confessing to somebody, it does make sense just because, again, we know they haven't found Trudy, and it doesn't seem as though they have any new evidence.
Right.
Just the same circumstantial evidence that they've had for years.
Right. And then they went on to describe something very specific about the murder.
Yeah. And I mean, yes, strangulation is, I think, a fairly common mode of killing used in situations like this. But
Sure.
to come out and publicly say that
means that they know.
Yeah. I mean, I can't imagine that that's just a guess.
Yeah.
At the time of his indictment on August 13th, Fisher was in the Scott County Jail on those drug and probation charges and was being held on a $50,000 cash-only bond. On Friday, August 22nd, it was announced that Scott County was working with Henry County, Illinois, in order to get Fisher extradited back so that he could be arraigned on the charges related to Trudy. So, and that does kind of go along with your theory, because Scott County is very much yeah, get him out of here. We don't want him. We can deal with whatever these drug charges are later. We don't care. Take him.
Yeah.
But what was just announced before we're recording this is that Fisher's fighting extradition.
Why?
Well, exactly, because he doesn't want to go back to Illinois and face charges for this. So that's what I'm saying. So that makes me believe that
he didn't confess,
at least not to law enforcement.
Right.
That maybe going along with what you were saying, maybe he confessed to just somebody who then
went to law enforcement.
Because it does not actually seem now that Jamison Fisher had enough of a conscience to truly come clean. Maybe, after his son died and he was grieving, he did say something to somebody, but it doesn't seem as though he's ready to fully come clean on this. Which, is tough, because if he had confessed to law enforcement, then this could be wrapped up quickly, you know?
And Dennis could get all the answers that he needs.
Exactly. And Trudy's uncle, too, and everybody who's been following this case for nearly 30 years. Amber's mom. I mean, there are so many people in and around Moline who very much want to see answers and very much care about Trudy. So when I was first reading all this, I was really hopeful that this could just be it,
Yeah.
But now knowing that he's fighting extradition, so that's going to push this back by a month. So basically, if you listen to our coverage of the Shane Donahue case and the recent arrest of Tim Hickerson in that, we talked a little bit about the extradition process and how if you don't waive extradition, it's like a 30-day process in which the two states' governors have to talk to each other. It's a whole thing.
Right. But in that case, it was a miscommunication and he wasn't fighting extradition. But
that's what he said, but that's
it still took a month.
It still took a month. And so, so now that's where we are in this. So we've probably got another 30 days before we even figure out if Jamison Fisher can come back to Illinois to be arraigned on Trudy's charges. Then based on his plea, we could just be kicking off a whole trial.
Yep.
And so we could be looking at another year, another 2 years. I mean, however long that takes to make its way through the system.
Right.
And so I don't want to be a downer because this is still incredible news and is such an amazing leap forward in this case.
Right. It is. It absolutely is. But it may not be the end of it.
It may not be the end of it. Yeah. But I'll, of course, continue to follow the case closely. So be sure to follow us on social media for smaller updates. But when we get something big, I'll definitely come back and update you here. Though this is a huge break in this nearly 30-year-long nightmare, it of course isn't over. Chief Galt said it best at the press conference. Quote, "Today is not about celebration. It's about a resolution. It's about accountability. And most importantly, it's about Trudy Appleby. This arrest does not erase the pain, but it does bring us one step closer to closure. We hope it offers a measure of peace to her family and to all of those who have walked this journey with them." End quote. Trudy Appleby has been missing from Moline, Illinois since August 21st, 1996. At the time of her disappearance, she was between 4'8" and 5 feet tall and around 75 to 85 pounds. Trudy was 11 years old when she disappeared. She would be 40 today. If you have any information on Trudy Appleby's disappearance, please contact the Moline Police Department at 309-797-0401. You can see all the sources for this episode along with photos and videos at our website, andthentheyweregone.com.
And be sure to follow us on social, and Then They Were Gone Pod on Facebook and at ATTWG Pod on Instagram and TikTok. If you like what we're doing, please subscribe and consider leaving a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It will help new listeners find us. And the more people that listen, the more chances we have of bringing someone home.
And we'll see you here next week for a brand new episode.
See you next week.
And Then They Were Gone is hosted by Kona Gallagher and Ethan Flick. All research, writing, and editing is done by me, Kona Gallagher. Theme music is The Stork by Ketsa. Additional music is provided by Kai Engel. And Then They Were Gone is a Little Monster production.
Hey, you can do it!
Meet new people and express your true self. Play I Am VU, and you can customize your avatar and world to your tastes. In this virtual universe, you can choose from over 54 million items and join in on over 300,000 chat rooms. Create your unique style and show it off to millions of IMVU users around the world. Come find your community on IMVU, whether that be friends or more. Dress, play, connect. Download IMVU from the App Store or Google Play today.
Shop the Sherwin-Williams Labor Day sale and get 35% off paints and stains August 22nd through September 4th. With prices starting at $31.84, it's the perfect time to transform your space with color. Whether you're looking to revamp your interior or exterior, we have you covered with bold hues, soothing neutrals, and everything in between. Visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store or shop the sale online. Delivery available on qualifying orders. Click the banner to learn more. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.